Greetings to all viewers. I want to ask you a question. Do you know who is the person before Allah? Do you know how to get Allah's pleasure? Do you know how to love Allah? If your answer is no, that's okay. I tell you, a person in the sight of Allah is one who fears his Lord and refrains from his deeds. He is the one who does good deeds and avoids bad deeds. He is one who worships his Lord and obeys him. He is one who loves his Lord and can sacrifice himself for him. Some of the essential qualities for a person in the eyes of Allah are: fear of God. The best person in the sight of God is the one who fears his Lord. Fear of God is a state in which a person realizes the nature of his Lord, his majesty, his power and his wrath and glory. He knows that Allah will take account of his deeds and reward him according to his deeds. Therefore, he fears his Lord that if he disobeys him, he will have to suffer the punishment of Allah. Fear of God is a positive emotion that saves a person from sins. When a person fears his Lord, he tries his best to follow his commands and avoid disobeying him. He knows that Allah is watching both his good and bad deeds, so he is concerned about his actions. The most beloved person to Allah is the person who works for his pleasure. Allah Ta'ala has said in the Holy Quran that Allah Ta'ala accepts only those actions which are done with a pure heart and only for his pleasure. Every action should be done for the pleasure of Allah. Prayer, fasting, hajj, zakat, charity, service to mankind, and every kind of good deed should be done for the pleasure of Allah. If we are sincere in our actions for the pleasure of Allah, then our actions will be acceptable to Allah and we will be blessed with countless blessings and rewards. Pieties. Pieties is an attribute that brings a person closer to Allah Ta'ala. Pieties means refraining from one's actions out of fear of Allah Ta'ala. A pious person in the sight of Allah is one who does good deeds and avoids bad deeds. Doing good deeds means following the commands of Allah Ta'ala and working to gain his pleasure. Good deeds include prayer, fasting, zakat, pilgrimage, charity, good manners, and helping other people. Relation. A person in the sight of Allah is one who has relationship with him. Actions such as dua, recital, and recitation of the Quran can be done to establish a relationship with Allah. A person who is closer to Allah is the one who has more relationship. Faith. In the eyes of Allah, a person is one who has faith in Allah. He considers Allah as his creator, owner, and Lord. Faith is a state in which a person believes from his heart about the existence, oneness, and attributes of Allah. This belief does not come only through verbal confession, but it requires trust and confidence in God Almighty from the depths of the heart. Love. In the eyes of Allah, a person is one who loves his Lord. A person who loves Allah keeps Allah in his heart. He remembers Allah in all his thoughts, feelings and actions. He loses himself in the presence of Allah. And he lives for the pleasure of Allah. And obeys him in his love. A person who loves Allah obeys him in his love. He follows the orders of Allah. He refrains from doing what Allah has forbidden. And he devotes his life to the pleasure of Allah. The example of a person in the sight of Allah is a person who is traveling through a dark forest one night. He reaches a small village, and he sees a bright lamp burning in the village. He goes to the lamp, and he sees that the lamp is placed under a big tree. He sits under the tree, and he enjoys the light of the lamp. Similarly, in the sight of Allah, a person is one who lives in the darkness of the world. He goes to the light of Allah, and he lives in the light of Allah. He enjoys the light of Allah, and he finds his way in the light of Allah. A person in the sight of Allah is one who fears his Lord, and refrains from his deeds. He worships Allah, and obeys him. He loves Allah, and can sacrifice himself for him. Finally, it is important to remember that it is not possible for us to understand the nature of Allah and his attributes. Allah's self and his attributes are related to his self and his attributes. We can only understand as much as Allah has asked us to understand. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and share. Stay tuned for more great content. Goodbye.